Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Cosa Resources Corp. Cosa is traded on the TSX-V under the ticker COSA and on the OTCQB under the ticker COSAF. And I'm joined today with the president and CEO of Cosa, Keith Bodnarchuk, and also the vice president of exploration, Andy Carmichael. And Keith, Andy, it's great to have you on the show, as always, to discuss the exciting drill plan you have coming up at Murphy Lake North. Now, Keith, when we talked last time back in December, we were discussing the transformative joint venture agreement that you have with Denison Mines, where these three properties came into the mix that you see on the map there: Murphy Lake North, Packrat, and Darby. We kind of unpacked those last time, but now we're at the exciting part where you're going to be honing in on Murphy Lake North. But I think it'd be helpful for people listening in just to share kind of your history, not only with this project that you're looking at, but also with Denison and some of the team there and some of the synergies between the two companies.
Yeah, definitely. So first off, great to be back, Shad. And it is a very exciting time for us. We just closed this transaction on January 14th, and now our focus is to get drilling as fast as we can on this Murphy Lake North project. This map here shows all the three projects that we did acquire: Murphy Lake North, Packrat, Darby. We acquired a 70% interest in it. Denison's maintaining a 30% interest in these projects. They've also taken a 19.9% ownership of Cosa Resources. And so it's important to know that these are projects that they're not giving up on, right? They want to maintain and expose to them, at a project level, but also at a corporate level by becoming our largest, most strategic shareholder. Very familiar with these projects. I spent 9 years at Denison. Andy also worked at Denison. Andy knew this Darby project even before Denison. And then obviously Murphy Lake North is right along trend of the Hurricane deposit, which Andy and the team discovered in 2018 during our time at IsoEnergy. So these are projects we're very familiar with. It's important to note that this whole area of the basin, in amongst this significant infrastructure of, Cigar Lake Mine, McArthur River, you have obviously Hurricane deposit. It's very difficult to get ground in this area. It's really been controlled by the Camicos, the Denisons, the Iranos, which is the French government. And it's, like I said, very difficult to get ground in this area. And so we were extremely happy to get this opportunity to get three great projects in and amongst this infrastructure, and importantly, located, next to Cigar Lake, next to the Hurricane deposit. And, as our team likes to say, the easiest place to find uranium is next to uranium. And so that's why we're going to be looking, at Murphy Lake North as soon as we can. Another important thing I'll just touch on too is that since we completed the Denison transaction, they have appointed Jeff Smith to our board. He's the VP of Corporate Development and Commercial for Denison Mines. Very good capital markets background, and we're happy to have him part of the team. And also Chad Sorba has joined our team as a technical advisor from Denison. Andy and I worked with Chad a long time. Chad was a project geologist that discovered both Phoenix and Griffin for Denison Mines. So I think when you start to lay it out, we really have a team that's been involved with a lot of the discoveries in the Athabasca Basin over the past 15 years. And that team continues to strengthen with this recent transaction with Denison Mines. But I'll pass it off to Andy here to really touch on the specifics of the Murphy Lake North project and our upcoming drill program in this area.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Yeah, I love this map. I mean, it's really just showing the Laroque Lake trend and all the mineralized occurrences along it, including the Hurricane deposit, which is now the world's highest grade uranium deposit. It's been known for a long time that the Laroque Lake trend could produce really astounding grades since the 90s. But the first real deposit that was discovered was Hurricane in 2018 by us while we were at IsoEnergy. And since then, this whole trend has really been very actively explored. The outlier to that is Murphy Lake North. The last time it got drilled was 2005. And so it's pretty remarkable that we were able to get a footprint on this trend, this extremely juiced up trend that's so underexplored. And it's very shallow, right? It's about 250 meters to the unconformity. And we think it's just some of the best ground you could get in the eastern Athabasca. The reason for that is it's got geology that extends out of the Hurricane deposit and goes right through a corner of the property. So we've got a piece of one of the best mineralized trends in the basin in the northern part of Murphy Lake North. But then it's really important to note that in the south of Murphy Lake North, there's a parallel trend. It's the same orientation as what hosts the mineralization at Hurricane. But we got 5 kilometers of that within the project. And it's really very underexplored. There's 3 drill holes onto that, and we're not aware of any other drilling on that trend elsewhere. Um, and one of those drill holes is mineralized. So within Murphy Lake North, we got about 6 kilometers of mineralized trend, and that's really exciting, especially to have that at such a shallow depth.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what you'll be doing with the winter drill program. This is a fully funded program. You're going to be drilling 1,600 meters. And as you mentioned, you kind of have those two different areas of interest along the same trend as the hurricane deposit, but also that parallel trend. So, Andy, break it down for us. Where will some of these targets be? What's the goal of this program?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to decide what to do here. I mean, we have those 2 great trends. We're going to divide our attention a little bit between both of them to evaluate them to some degree. We're confident that hurricane geology comes through here. So this is a map showing in red the outline of the hurricane deposit within IsoEnergy's project, and then there's the underlying basement geology that the deposit sits directly over, and how it trends into the project. Um, on either side of Murphy Lake North, there are drill holes that are pretty interesting results. So really anomalous amounts of uranium and lead in the sandstone on either side. We've got a conductive trend passing right through the project, but what we don't know is exactly how much of that trend we have or exactly where it is in the project. There is one drill hole within Murphy Lake North into that trend, and it hit exactly what you want to see: altered sandstone, faulting in the sandstone, and faulting in the graphitic basement rock. So we know it's there, but we just don't know, its limits. So we're going to work on testing that and following up some great basement faulting in that whole CRK 143. But we're also going to head down south and check that parallel trend out with a pair of drill holes and evaluate that, right? It's a bit of a setup program for that trend to see just how much effort we should be putting into that in the future. That southern hole is actually really interesting, that CRK 144. 2 intercepts of uranium in the basement of that drill hole. But the geochemical signature of that mineralization is really strongly suggestive of mineralization at the unconformity, so a little shallower in the drill hole. So it's kind of driving us to move up towards the unconformity and explore there. There's also some really great geochemistry in the adjacent hole. So we have quite a bit of enthusiasm for both of those trends, and what we're doing this winter is to complete a first pass to evaluate them within the project, building on the back of the historical drilling.
Well, and just one more follow-up, Andy. I asked you this at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, and it's not a fair question because you don't know the answer to it, but I'm going to ask it here because I think it's instructive for people listening in. I asked you, about how many holes you think you do, and I think you said around 4, roughly. It just depends. And I said, well, of the 2 targets, which are you more excited about? And are you going to do 2 and 2? Or what? And you said, honestly, we're going to put, I think, 1 into each, if that's correct. And then whichever one rings the bell the loudest, that's where you really put the accelerator on. So maybe just talk about that. This is still early days. You're still trying to figure this out, but you really don't have a preference between the 2 areas yet.
No, they're both really great. I mean, it's hard. You can't say enough how good it is to have a piece of a trend that hosts the world's highest grade uranium deposit, right? That has to be a priority. But our plan is really to punch a hole into the northern trend along strike of Hurricane, and see what we get. See if there's anything clear for a follow-up target there. And while we digest those results, we'll move down south near CRK 144 and complete a similar style hole. And whichever one looks the best, that's where we're going to divert the remaining holes to.
Well, and Keith, as you look at this, it is exciting, guys, just to see this coming together. The plan's coming together, but you have a lot going on as a company, and there's a lot of other projects, but this is clearly the low-hanging fruit you guys want to go after. This is the next area of focus. So I guess just walk us through the roadmap of the timeline here, Keith, how you expect the news flow to come out, and just give us a snapshot of what's coming over the next couple of weeks, couple months.
Yeah, definitely. So we're on pace to start drilling here in the next few weeks. We have guys up on site now, just making sure the winter road into the project is ready to go, and then we'll start dragging the drill in there and get drilling right away. So this program should be about 4 weeks long. Roughly, we should be able to provide an update, post program there to really update on the results we got. If we do have some success, we'd be in position to release some scintillometer results on that, which is kind of the beauty of uranium exploration, is that you can tell whether you've had a successful hole right away. as compared to gold or something like that, where you do have to wait for assays. So we'd be in position to release that. And then, we'd be waiting for assays about another month after that. But lots of news flow here over the next few months. Extremely excited to be back in this area, kind of, Andy and the team's backyard. This is, the Craig Perry, our old CEO at ICE, used to always talk about the costs of the test. This is cheaper exploration in this area. It's 250, 300 meter down targets. And for reference, Phoenix, Denison's ground, Cigar Lake, MacArthur, those are 400 meters down plus. So this is shallow ground. And the fact that we have a 6 kilometer trend here that hasn't been explored under 250 meters of cover, parallel to the highest grade uranium resource on the planet. There aren't many projects like that left in the Athabasca Basin, and so that's why we were excited to get it. And we're ready to go. And so watch for a lot of news flow here over the next month or so.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there for today, guys. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch the first couple of holes come out of Murphy Lake North. It's exciting that you have access to this kind of a project and that you're able to structure a deal with Denison and you have good partners there, prior working relationships, good team members, a lot of sharing of ideas back and forth between the two teams. We'll keep our eyes peeled for the drill results as they start coming back in, Keith. But Keith, Andy, great having you on the show. And for people listening in, if you want to follow along with the news out of Cosa Resources, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the company website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates or just follow along as the results start coming back in. And gentlemen, looking forward, as always, to our next conversation.
Thanks, Shad.
Thanks, Chad.